Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of the Shannara Chronicles Graymark. And I think this was a pretty good episode, just kind of like moving everything along and kind of getting characters kind of reacquainted and reunited to kind of further the plot along. So, we see Riga and like being with Alanon, like his group taking him to Graymark. We see the castle and everything, and of course we then get them further into the keep, and we get some more kind of like backstory of what's going on. And he's like, Alanon's like, why was I brought here? He's like, oh, so you can stand trial. And he's like, but I didn't do anything. And you practice magic, right? He's like, screw you, I'm not answering you. And he's like, yep, Druids think they're above everything and all of that. And like, we served everyone faithfully and for thousands of years. And hundreds of them were slaughtered in these very walls and fighting the darkness. He's like, well, the Dagnamor and the Warlock Lord were Druids and they've killed thousands. And he's like, yeah, they were using their gift of magic. And they're on the same warped, like, you're on the same path. It's like, you must have a warped mind to compare me with those mass murderers. And it's like, dude, this fortress was the Warlock Lord's place. It was his palace. You're sitting in his throne and everything. And don't lecture me on the evils of magic. And, like, listen, you have to let me go so I can make sure that the Warlock Lord isn't awakened. And he's like, well, I beat you, and I think I can beat him too. And he's like, alright, whatever. He's like, where's the Codex of Paranor? He's like, so that's what he wants. Because that's like where all the magical knowledge is kept, isn't it? He's like, you can never possess it. Yeah, only a druid can know the secrets, wield the power kind of stuff. And he's like, listen, magic is not a weapon, it's a gift, and it always comes at a price. As we see him putting Alon's staff in his safe. He's like, you don't have to tell me about the price. I witnessed it when my men got ripped apart by demons outside of Arbalon. And he's like, you dishonor your men with the action that you're doing. We have to fight our true enemy. He's like, the true enemy is magic. And he's like, once the Codex is destroyed, magic will be purged forever. It's like, really? That's just the store of knowledge for magic. You'd have to go to like the source to like end it. So then we see Will waking up the next day after his fight with Bandon, and Eritrea comes up. He's reunited. He's like first freaked out. He's like, "You're alive!" And of course he hugs her and everything. And he's like, "Well, how did you find me?" And she tells him about Amberly with the vision and all that. And then of course we hear Meredith yell outside, "Who are you?" And we find out that Jax has accompanied Eritrea to help track down Will, using the diamonds that Queen Tamlin had given her. And, of course, he's like, oh, Will Almsford, one of the most wanted men by the Crimson. This is going to be interesting. And, of course, he's talking about how he's more of a weapons master and all that. And Meredith's like, I kind of doubt that. Then he, of course, gives him the lowdown. His uncle's been captured. I have to find Alanon. And, of course, they're like, well, Alanon was with us, but he was captured by General Riga. And they're like, alright, we gotta go and do that. Of course, Jax is like, listen, I don't want to get your ideology, politics, guilt. I'm not needed for that. I don't want to get any of that crap. And of course, listen, he's like, I'm not in the lost causes either. He's like, I don't want to mess with the Crimson. And of course, they're kind of like, well, if you're not afraid of anything, prove it. So he's like, okay, you're challenging me. We'll have to see how that goes. So, of course, we see Queen Tamlin, like, walking around. Then Lyria's like, okay, what did you say to Eritrea to get her to leave? And she's like, well, I told her the truth, that she was just the latest, and offered her diamonds, and she went on her way. And it's like, alright, you're here for one purpose, to marry Ander. And she's like, listen, I know you don't like the elf. What's your true endgame here? Pretty much to get her to marry Ander, and then know that they don't have enough strength to fully keep Civil War from breaking out, so that Lyria would call on Queen Tamlin to send troops. They'd set up a garrison and essentially take over the West Landing. And she's like, well, why would I go along with that? well, I don't know. You want your rover friend to be alive. She's like, well, what if you can't find her? I'm like, what if I already have eyes on her? So, of course, we then get to Al-Anon being beaten in his cell. We get more information on Rigga. He knows Ancient Druid. They're talking about that, talking about how he must feel powerless with that collar on. And it was used to enslave demons to study them. It works on you as well. And, of course, you think you can control magic. And it's like, okay, alright, well, tell me how you have this certain kind of blood. And it's like impervious to my magic. I wondered how you were impervious to my magic. It's like, only this certain kind of creature, well, certain kind of, it didn't really explain if it was like a creature or a kind of race. But this certain thing had this like ability. And well, it's really rare for someone to survive it but take on the traits. And of course he's like, well, if I wasn't attacked, my pregnant mother was. And of course, the stores, who we saw Will learning from, ripped him out of his mother's body, but he was already infected. And so he was weak and everything as a child. He couldn't stand the light, crippling pain. So he has a poker and burns Al-Anon to make his point. But like, I fought through it. I turned my curse and am able to now use it to stop you. So he's like, oh, I'm never going to give up the Codex. You can torture me all you want. He's like, oh, well, where there's a druid, there's always a Shannara. So we'll see how well your resistance holds up when I'm torturing him. And, of course, he's like, well, okay. I need to leave, but, here you go. And then gives the other dude the poker, and pretty much burns him too. So it's like, shit. So, of course, we see Will and company kind of like riding up. They get to a campfire to kind of like, they're getting close to Graymark. We get Will and Eritrea kind of talking a little bit more. Her telling him about how she was in a place that the dude thought he was protecting her and gives back the pendant and all that. And she just thought that you had moved on, not that you're forgetting anything. And then, of course, he wants anything that he can get from the vision that Eritrea had. And she just said the only other thing was that darkness was coming. And Al-Anon told her what happened to Amberly, and he's like pissed off at Al-Anon. Which, of course, yes, Al-Anon knew it would happen, but it was the only thing he knew how to save the Elkrease. Otherwise, they would have demons everywhere, and yeah, it gets into that he should have told more, but of course, Eritrea's like, it was Amberly's choice. You made the choice to do it. There's more than that stuff going on in there as well. And then, of course, he's like, wished that he wasn't alive, pretty much. And Eritrea's like, that's not the Will I know. And he's like, who? The naive one who would be taken advantage of? And he's like, no, the one that believes in the good in people, who saw good in me, and that I was more than just, believed I could be more than just a rover, that you saved me, Will. And in so many ways. And of course, she sees marks on his arm. She's like, are those from the Elfstones, aren't they? He's like, you're judging me? Any idea what's, like, everything I had wanted has been taken from me? And of course she's like, yeah. And then of course, I love how it kind of shuts Will up and he just kind of leaves. And I'm like, yeah, she has had a lot of shit taken from her and she has had a lot of shit to deal with. So, I don't know how you thought that was going to roll out. So of course, we then see Jax kind of watching him from the bushes because he was taking first watch with Meredith. And then he turns around and he sees himself. And Meredith's like, oh, I thought we were supposed to be like watching around. And he's like, oh, ever since demons showed up, people with like any kind of party tricks coming out of the woodworks. And she's like, it's not a party trick, it's magic. So he's like, what do you want with the druid? It's like, none of your concern. Like, listen, I've known people like this, you should just leave. The Crimson True Believers, you don't want to mess with them. And he's like, listen, I was like your friends once. I had a cause. I was willing to die for it. Secret pet. And she's like, oh, so you got a secret pet. So, nice try. I'm not going to do that. So, of course, we then see them kind of surveying Graymark. And Will's like, everyone's like, what's the plan? Will's like, well, the plan that Jackson's been coming up with since he met me. Turn me in for the bounty, essentially. Pretty much, I just need Jax to get me the layout so that way we turn myself in and We can get Al-Anon out that way so I can get an escape plan. It's like, okay, that'll work. And then we get to Will and Eritrea kind of talking. Eritrea's like, this is a terrible plan. He's like, yeah, it's the worst, but it's all that we got. And then he starts apologizing to her. He's like, you of all people didn't deserve that outburst. Because essentially Will has not been dealing with his feelings at all and has not talked to anyone about his feelings. And of course, the first friend that he's gotten back of the thing that he thought was taken from, one of the things he thought was taken from him, he goes off. And he's like, listen, you didn't understand that. And I use the stones to see Amberly, and that's about it. Or like a vision of her, and every time I say it's the last time, but yeah. And of course Eritrea's like, listen, she loved you, Will. And yeah, you were sent to find me. You left a life that was like safe and happy, and he's like, that's not fair to you. And she's like, well, life isn't fair. And Cephalo would say, dry your eyes, kid. Like, tomorrow's not promised. And it's lucky that you're alive today. And then, of course, he'd be like, well, he'd also be figuring out how to steal the bounty money from Jax. And she's like, well, do you have anything on, like, Meredith? Because I can't get a read on her. It's like, well, her father, she's got, like, a past that she can't explain, abilities she can't control, and potentially the world's worst father. So, there, I've given her the benefit of the doubt. She hasn't, yeah, she's kind of snarky and everything, but she hasn't made any truly overtly hostile moves towards Will or anybody else in the group. So it's more just like, we don't know this person, can we trust them in a thick or thin kind of situation. So I understand that. So of course, they're kind of figuring out what to do. And she gives him a lockpick. Hope you know how to remember about that. And it gives him like these kind of things that are similar looking to like the elf stones. She's like, well, you better hide these where somebody won't really get them or blow off your precious elf stones. And she like kind of like grabs him by the crotch as she walks by. It's like, yeah, okay. And he's like, all right. Moving on. It's like, okay, because these are evidently something that could potentially blow up. So it's like, okay, hopefully they don't search down there. So of course everybody's like, we're ready. And then we like move on to, of course, Queen Hamlin again. We see Andrew talking with the general, talking about like, all right, it's taken a little bit. It's like, oh, it's all theatrics. Anything from Tanya? And the general's like, oh, she took the engagement thing hard and just went back to Armorlawn. And he's like, well, I couldn't survive this year without her, so yeah, she's pretty cool. So of course Queen Hamlin's like, all right, we accept your terms. We're all good. Can I talk with the general for a little bit? And we find out here that she's essentially been helping them with the revolt. She wants to talk to General Riga, and the general's like, I don't know if I can do that. She's like, listen, I'll end your revolt before it even starts. He's like, yes. So, of course, he leaves. We then get to Graymark, and Jack pretty much brings in Will, and they're like, okay, here's the Shannara. Give me my money. And, of course, they start beating a little bit on Will, and he's like, all right, give us the elf stones. He's like, why? Pay me extra for them. And they're like, he's like, how about no? Because they had threatened to kill Will, and he'd be dead, worth half as much dead. And of course, he's like, listen, because he then pulls his blade on the dude talking to him about it. He's like, listen, you could slice my throat, but you'd be taken out by the rest of these people as well. Because he was also telling the story of how he tracked Will, pretty much Shady Vale, looking for his uncle, and that's how he got Will. It's like, I could tell you a story about a border legion commander who survived demon slaughter that took the rest of his men. And of course he's like, alright, fine, I'll just take the money. And of course he throws it and tells him to fetch it. And he like goes, picks it up, and like, Jackson's pissed. I'm waiting for him to get like his blood to like get everybody taken down bloody style. So of course we then see Will in his cell. He's able to take his cuffs, blow out the lock, and take one of the guards out and put him in his cell. So of course he's like going through. We see Eritrea and Meredith, like, they get to a place to get into Graymark, and it's guarded by only 2 soldiers. They're like, all right, listen, you want Al-Anon, I want Will. We don't come out unless we got both. And she's like, all right, cool. So then Eritrea starts going in being like a badass, throws her knife at one of them, pretty much gets up and stabs one in the throat, and they're like, all right, we're good. And then one's trying to come up behind them, but What happens? He gets taken out by one of Jax's axes. He's like, you gotta watch your flank, ladies. And they're like, whoa, they didn't give you your money? He's like, no, I got the money. But, he didn't say they pissed him off, but you could see he's like, they pissed me off. They need to actually pay now, not just money. So, of course, they get in, ready to move on. So, of course, we see Rigga looking at this kind of book, and the dude comes in, gives him the elf stones, and locks him in the safe. This is important because this is the last time we see the elf stones for sure in this safe, along with Al-Anon's staff. So, of course, we see Will get into Al-Anon's cell. He's like, working on the cuffs. He's like, it was a mistake coming here for me. He's like, well, it's nice to see you too. And shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff. He's like, listen, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for Flick. Bandon's got him, and I need to bring you to Paranor. He's like, you know why he needs us both there. He's like, I don't care. And, of course, he's asking him if he can walk or whatnot, because he was trying to also get the collar off, but Al-Anon kind of falls on him. But before they can do it, Rigga comes in and asks him why he's leaving so soon. So, of course, we then see that they're trying to figure out what's going on. It's like, oh, okay. Who captured Will? It was the bounty hunter, Jax. It's like, okay, this was coordinated. Seal the tunnels, put it in the full lockdown, and it's like, yes, General. So, of course, they're getting that all together. We then see this torture dude kind of like Conan and where Al-Anon and Will are. Well, the torture dude leaves. We see that Will's telling him that Eritrea and Meredith are there, and he's like, who the hell is that? He's like, well, I'm glad you got that collar on, because now you can't read my thoughts. She'll tell you about it when she gets here. So, of course, they start talking about Bandon, what happened, and Al-Anon admits his mistakes. He pushed him too hard, too fast, but I was trying to sell the ale crease. He's like, yeah, no sacrifice for the greater good. He's like, listen, he strayed off the path because of me. I can accept that. And he's like, that's the reason I was trying to keep you out of this. Because he saw that he had failed with Bandon and didn't want to have the same thing happen with Will. But of course, that keeps... if you keep just all of your cards to your chest, nobody's going to understand what your plans are or what you're trying to do. He needs to be more forthcoming with Will. But, of course, Al-Anon has been alive for much longer and probably has been hurt by, like, people betraying the druids and just doing horrendous things. So his level of trust for other people, he has, I don't trust many people. So, of course, he's talking about how, like, destiny's stronger than the wishes of one man. He's like, don't give me that crap. I'm here because you screwed up. So, of course, people come in with a torture device. And he goes like, hey, welcome here. So, nice to meet you. I was like, whatever you think I can do for you, I can't. He's like, oh, don't sell yourself short. And then one of the most messed up scenes is he nicks his throat, like, around his neck here, around, like, an artery, and then plunges a needle in for a blood, like, draining machine. It's like, okay, tell me where the codex is. Otherwise, I'll open the valve and drain him. It's like, shit. So, of course, we then cut to guards in a hallway, and we see Jax, Eritrea, and Meredith. And we're like, alright, we gotta find the cells and everything. And Meredith's like, well, she, like, feels something, tells him to wait. Says, listen, I know where Al-Anon is, follow me this way. Al-Anon also has a freaky little kind of, like, something's going on. So, of course, they all go that way. We see a lot of blood being pumped out of Will, which honestly looks like a lot that he probably should have died really soon, or at least completely passed out from blood loss. And he's like, we see Rigga just pretty much doing his villain kind of thing, like, oh, and the longer you live, the colder your heart must be, because this kind of sucks. And he's like, Al-Anon doesn't give a damn about anyone. He doesn't care about Amberly, not about me. And Al-Anon looks hurt at this. He does care about these people. It's just he has had to build up an exterior that doesn't show these emotions. He has trained himself to look to the greater good, even if it hurts him. And just, he's kind of numbed himself to this. But yet not so much that hearing someone that he cares about saying these kind of things does hurt him. So, of course, he's like, listen, drain me dry. You won't crack. It doesn't matter. So, of course, we see that Meredith has gotten into the throne room. She's kind of confused at first. She's like, wait a minute, he should be here. Then, of course, we hear the rattling, and we see the staff come out, like burst and flame out. What the fuck? Okay. And see, we know that the Elfstones are in there, but they don't open up the rest of the safe and like look around in there because, I'm sorry, if I see a staff come out of something, I'd be like, could there be something else in there? Maybe. Now, granted, we'll see what happens, but that could come in later. So, of course, we get to the cells, we see Rigga, we tell him to stop, and he's trying to get Will to tell him where the Codex is, telling him about how he's lost family as well, when they were trying to defend the gates of Arborlawn, that his wife was flayed and she was pregnant with their first child. And he's like, Alon's like, he doesn't know anything. He's like, yes, I do, but I'd rather die than tell you. He's like, just kill me. I'm not afraid. And Rigger's like, well, have it your way. Drain him. And the door opens, and we see Mara standing out there, and she uses the staff and blasts one dude into a corner, tries to blast Rigger's like, that won't work on me. It's like, maybe fire will, because she looks over to the brazier, and like, she's pretty smart that way, like, okay, magic doesn't work on his ass. What if I use magic to throw something at his ass? And he throws it, and he gets knocked back in the wall. And Eleanor's like, that's my staff. What the fuck? How can you be using that kind of thing? And, of course, Jack comes in, kicks a dude. Eritrea goes to help Will, and that's like pulling out that needle and everything. And, of course, they're able to get the collar off of Al-Anon, and, of course, they're like, listen, we gotta get out of here. So, of course, we see a lot of guards around the outside. We then see Merritt kind of concentrate, and we see Rigga tell the guys to seal up the tunnels. Nobody gets out. So, of course, a good amount of the force goes down to seal the tunnels. And we then see the whole Rigga illusion fall away, and Jack starts kicking ass, and everybody just starts kicking ass. This is a pretty good battle scene because it's not really chaotic, but it's really well done because you can understand what's going on. We see Jack's doing his really kick ass. There's not a gratuitous amount of gore, but a good amount to show the deadliness of these people. Just Jack's like ripping it up. We see Meredith using the staff to whoop ass on some people. We see Eritrea getting up close and personal with her knives. I'm like, yeah, roguelike character, do that shit. And we see Al-Anon is now supporting Will in the tunnel. And, of course, they're just trying to figure out what to do. And Maris, like, just still kicking ass. And they're trying to figure out what to do. They're like, alright, we gotta open the gate. I mean, it'll take, like, 20 of us to, like, open it. But, of course, Al-Anon and Will start running out. And Al-Anon's like, give me the staff. And he starts using magic to open up the doors. And, of course, then more guards come pumping in. We see Rigga come in as well. And, of course, Meredith uses her magic to make a fire to keep everybody out. And we see Jax take Will out. We see Eritrea run out. And then, of course, Meredith run out. By this time, we also see, I think that Al-Anon's magic is possibly tied to the symbols written around his neck or whatnot, possibly on his body as well, because I saw 2 marks that were burning and then disappeared, I guess because of the amount of magic he was using. Again, that price. Then he, like, drops the magic, throws the staff, and is able to get out. His General Rigga shoots a crossbow bolt at him, and, of course, the door's closed at that point in the thing, but they've got another problem in that Will doesn't have the elf stones at the moment. Now, granted, they possibly could have taken them since they were in the throne room, but that is probably going to lead to some issues. Hopefully it doesn't mean backtracking. Hopefully it means that Rigga comes after him with the elf stones. I don't know. That's the only kind of plot point that kind of like stuck with me. It's like, that's going to present some problems. I do believe that they're going to be able to like weave it in because they did a good job of laying out who Rigga was in this episode, giving us some backstory, and just connecting him more with the kind of universe and with the demon attacks in the first season, with his birth as well, with his view of magic and how he could gather so many people to hate magic and do his force. Also, Al-Anon's kind of views and also showing us more of Merritt actually being really strongly related to Al-Anon since she was able to use his staff. And then, of course, getting Will and Eritrea back together and seeing how that worked out and seeing them kind of like at least have some friction at first and then kind of like getting back to kind of like the normal kind of brood. So I'm interested to see how this goes forward because yes, they've got Al-Anon and they're going to need to get to Paranor, but without the Elf Stones, they're going to be at a disadvantage because that just means it's going to be up to Al-Anon and Marith to take on Bandon, and Bandon at least has a little bit more training, has the Warlock Blade to kind of give him some more stuff, and he's also backed up by the Mord race, so that's going to be it'll be cool to see how that shakes out. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.